I'm Gray, and I'm going to my friend Jen's place for dinner this week, so in taking a bottle of wine as a gift, decided to spruce up the wine bag. Now, it's super easy, follow along, I'll guide you through all the steps. Let's go make it. Okay, so materials and items we'll need today is our device that's connected to Design Space, easy press, cutting machine, standard grip mat, our Cricut infusible inks, some butcher paper, our heat mat, wine bag, obviously for what we're gifting, lint roller, tape, and some tools. So for this project, we're going to use two different infusible ink colors. One of them for the letters in the design, one of them for the stars. With that out of the way, let's get into the project. So I'm going to go across here to Design Space, and you can see I've already got my ready-to-make project that I've been playing around with a little bit. So I've got cheers as one cut in one color, and then I've got all these other stars and circles in another cut in another color. And that's because I'm planning to use two different infusible inks here. So looking pretty good to me. I do want to adjust the size now that I'm feeling pretty good about the design. So looking at the size of this bag, the design should be about 8.5 inches in width. So once I've got everything selected, I'll go up here, change this to 8.5, and it updates. The other thing I'll do is I'm just going to change the color here. I want this to be green, more as a reminder for when I'm going through the cut scenes that I know which colors are going to be which. I've got a green and I've got a yellow in my infusible ink, so I want those to be reflected in Design Space. This looks good, so we're going to click Make It. So what you're seeing here is it's planning for the stars first and the cheers second. Now, it's always worth thinking ahead with how you want to do these projects. Now, I could have grouped all of these stars together, and it could have been 8.5 inches in width also, the same as what our cheers is going to look like. However, if I did that, I'd have a bunch of wasted material. So I'm happier to just cut the stars and the circles, not as a group, so it uses up less material. And then I'll be manually placing them around the cheers so I can do the infusible ink press in one go. Something to keep in mind with infusible ink is that we're going to be cutting on the top surface. On the back surface, it's a backer. And what that means is that when we do our design, we actually want it mirrored, because we're going to cut on this surface and then flip it for when we go to press. So need to make sure that the designs are mirrored. Less important for the stars and circles, obviously, but it's very important for the cheers. The other thing I'm going to do just in preparation is I don't want the cheers to be right up squished in the corner. I actually want it to be fairly centered. I want space around it so that I can manually place all of the stars and stickers. Now this looks good. I kind of need about 1 inch, so it's okay just to move it up a little bit. And with that, we're ready to continue. So it asks me, the first prompt I get is to set my base material. I've already favorited infusible ink because I used a bunch, so it's going to be selected here. In the event that it wasn't there, you could just browse more materials and find it. The next thing is Design Space prompts me to make sure I have no tool in clamp A, the fine point blade in clamp B. And once that's ready, I would be loading my matte material into the machine. So quick check of the machine, looks good. Now I'll get my material ready. Now the first cut is a yellow, so I'm going to place the yellow first on my standard grip mat, taking time to just get it lined up in the corners. And once that's ready, we're going to load it in. Now, make sure you get in underneath these guides at the front left and the front right. And push up against these little grey rollers. And once you're there, provide some even pressure and click the load button, which the machine is prompting you to do. Now the machine's going to go through its pre-feed cycle, so it's going in and checking that the material in the machine is long enough to cut with. And once the machine is happy, it's going to ask us to press go. Okay. The yellow is good. So what it's going to do is it's going to go straight to that green cut. So we'll remove our yellow material. You'll see I'm removing it from the back. The reason I'm doing that is it's just bending the material itself less. And that looks good. So we'll put this over here and get ready for our green cut. Now, this looks blue, I get it, right? What's important is to look at the package. Now, sometimes the infusible inks don't look too vibrant. That's just how they are before you press them. They'll always press vibrant. I would use the reference that's on the box as your guide to what color is actually going to end up on the material you're pressing. So getting our green material and prepping it on our mat. Again, Design Space is going to ask us to select our material, which again is infusible ink. It's then going to ask us to check the tools, which we've done, and get our material ready in the mat. So again, under the guides, pressing evenly at the end and clicking load. And with any luck, this will cut, and it'll cut in reverse in the mirror that we set, and we'll be ready to move on. So it's ready, it did it pre-feed cycle, it's asking us to press go. Now the machine's going to do its thing, cut your beautiful design. So while it's doing this cut, I've noticed my easy press isn't on, so I've checked my design heat app, the Cricut heat app, and it's told me that for pressing infusible ink sheets onto this kind of wine tote, we need 385 Fahrenheit for 60 seconds. So I'm going to get this ready. Once that's ready, I'll give it a minute to heat up while we get our design ready. Okay, good. So now that we have our design, I'll remove it from the mat. Again, I'll remove it from the back. Now, something that's worth doing is keeping this sheet and reapplying it once you're done. The reason there is the more you can protect the adhesive layer on the mat, the longer the mat will last. I'm just going to cut my design down. Like I said before, I want to leave a little bit more than an inch for space for circles and stars around the design. So okay. The rest of this sheet is perfect, so you could still use that for any other design. Even this little bit at the end that I'll probably spare with, like, that could have been perfect for the stars and circles we did today. And just a little bit off this side. I'll also get my yellow ready. Next bit's the fun bit. Next bit's weeding. Now, some people love weeding. It's kind of one of those, you either love it or you hate it. Good, our easy press is ready. So I'm going to first remove all of the material I don't need. Now, we want to remove all the negative. All we want to have left is the design that we want to press. So I'm going to start by getting my design off my backer. Now I want to be very careful around the sort of sharp corners here. And it's okay if some of it tears, as long as what's tearing is the negative. Because we can go in afterwards and weed out all of the spare bits we don't want. Like these bits. So I forgot to mention, but what I'm using here is our weeder tool. Now, really sharp pick at the end. If you don't have one of these tools, I recommend you go and get one. You really need it to get in, like this little example here. You're gonna have a hard time doing that with your finger. Whereas your weeder tool is just gonna help you get right in under there and remove all the bits you don't need. That looks pretty good. Next is just adding our stars. So I'm going to go back in design space just to have it as reference so I can see where I placed them originally because I like the way that looked. Hot tip time to get the backer off is just peel at the corner and just bend it. And if you do that a couple of times, there we go. And now we're just placing each one of our stars around our design. You'll have the design that you can see in the yellow. Now, on the back side, it's white. Here, we're going to be looking at the blue cheers design, and it's going to be sticky. You want to be placing and transferring the stars directly onto the same side. So you should be able to have all of the white facing down and the blue and the green facing towards you. And we're doing that because we want the ink side up so that when we place it face down, it's directly on the material. So originally when we did the design, we gave it about an inch border. Now is where that's important because now you can see we've got that whole amount of space around our design for placing these little stars. If we just left it in the corner, we'd be in trouble. We'd be trying to kind of hack away to get extra material around to place the stars. Nice little thing to keep in mind whenever you're planning to do like a 2-color or multi-material press at one go. These are starting to look pretty good. And my circles can kind of just go anywhere that looks to fill space at the minute. Okay, so final steps before we go to press our design. So I just want to make sure everything looks good and I'm happy with that. So the next steps are really important. This is where we're going to prep our bag for pressing. So a few things we need to do here. We'll need to clean the bag. We'll then need to be using something as a liner in between the bag, butcher paper or cardboard. We've got butcher paper today, and that's to stop any ink from bleeding through. We'll place the design down, we might tape it, and then we'll do our press. So to start with, we'll clean our bag. Then I want to place something on the inside. So what I've got here is some pre-cut butcher paper. The heat hat, I checked and said that 4 pieces of butcher paper or some cardboard is best. So 4 pieces of butcher paper that will slide in. So before we place the design and get it ready, we want to do a pre-press. So that's going to be just 15 seconds where we're placing the heat press, the easy press on the material. You can use the timer if you want, just to kind of get that 15 seconds. So bag has been pre-pressed. Now we're going to place the design. So now we're going to get the design. We want the color side down because that's what's going to infuse down, and the plastic up. Now that should hold pretty well. I'm going to be safe here and just use some of our heat tape to just tape the design into position, just to stop it from moving at all during press. Now, final step before we press is to use some butcher paper, and that's mainly to protect the heat plate itself. So, placing that over our whole design, and now we're ready to press. Make sure it's lined up, and start. And I want to apply both hands of pressure, just so that there's a medium amount of pressure, and make sure that we get a good press. The press is done. We can remove our butcher paper, but for infusible ink, it needs to be a cold peel. So we just want to let it sit here for a minute and cool down before we remove the design. Okay, we've let it cool, and now for the big reveal. All right, look at that. That worked great. So I'll get my butcher paper out, and that's it. There's our design. It looks really cool. And I think this will go down a treat as a gift, so I hope Jen likes it. If you haven't yet, I'd encourage you to go check out our other videos. We've got a bunch of interesting stuff that will inspire you to make some fun projects. So hope you had fun. I did, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.